He was born in Holland on November the 1st, 1940. When the Netherlands were liberated mainly by Canadian forces, John's lifelong love for Canada was born. He immigrated to Canada and settled in Prince George in 1965, and through sheer hard work and determination, he succeeded. Yes, he had a few lawsuits along the way, but he never gave up, and he became president of Brink Forest Parks. His life that he lives today, and he conducts his business today based on key principles he shares in his book as simple takeaways. And his new book is called Against All Odds. He is a living example of never, ever giving up. Please welcome John Brink. Good to have you here, my friend.
Thanks, Peter. Love to be on your show.
One question that I have, how on earth did someone from the Netherlands decide to, if they're going to emigrate to Canada, how did you pick Prince George?
Interesting question. Is that the first one, obviously, as you said in your introduction, we were liberated in 1945, April the 12th, in fact, by the Canadian Army. And that made such an impression on me that I knew from that point forward, I would go to Canada, not if, but when. And the sooner, the better, as far as I was concerned. And then the other part, Peter, important to it is that my dad managed a small lumber company, not his own, but for somebody else. And my grandfather was a master carpenter. So it was pretty well determined that I would be in lumber in some form or fashion. And then, the dream then became to go to Canada and to then build my own lumber company. And so that happened. The dream to go to Canada happened when I was 5. When I was 10 or 12, I wanted to already go to Canada, not only to be in Canada, but to build my own lumber company. And then British Columbia, with all the lumber and the timber, was the place to go. So that's how it came. And then when I came to Canada in July of 1965, and then to Vancouver, I talked to somebody in the immigration department in Vancouver. Was a German fellow, actually, and because I couldn't speak English, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he said to me instantly, "Go to Prince George. That's where they're building all the lumber mills. That's where the pulp mills are," and that's as simple as I got to Prince George.
So you arrived in Vancouver first.
First in Vancouver by train. I flew by plane to Montreal, took the train to Vancouver, and then when I came off the train in Vancouver, went to the immigration department, and then the Greyhound, 12 hours to Prince George.
Where did you stay those first few times you were in Vancouver? Can you remember?
I stayed on the. I was one night in Vancouver, and I stayed in a hotel. Call it a hotel. It was $2 a night. And, because I went to the Greyhound station after I talked to the immigration person, and then I walked to the Greyhound station, bought a ticket for the next day, and then got a hotel for $2 a night on Granville Street.
Oh my gosh. Is that hotel still standing by any chance? Or?
That's a good question, Peter. I don't think so, but I don't remember it well,
Now, when you went to Prince George, you had an incredible amount of challenges and difficulties that you had to overcome before you were the great success that you are today. Can you share some of those and how you conquered them? How was your will of purpose to get through these struggles?
So one of the first things, obviously, that I came to Canada, and I already had a career in Holland, up to the time that I was 24, but then decided to go to Canada. And then I wanted to start from the very bottom. And so I decided when I left Holland to take no more than one suitcase, a set of clothes, a couple of books, and then $150 when I left Amsterdam. So by the time I came to Prince George off the Greyhound, I still had my suitcase, and I counted my money at least twice, and I had exactly $25.47 left. And so and then obviously standing there and the Greyhound station is still here in Prince George, you know, that where I stopped. And then obviously the next challenge was it was very obvious that I had a cash flow problem, and I had to find a job as quickly as I could. So I went to the immigration office that was about 2 blocks away from the Greyhound station. Again, was very lucky that in the immigration office there was a Dutch fella working that was on school holidays, and he helped me in terms of you know, kind of finding a job. So he made some phone calls, and there was no job in Prince George, but there was one in Quesnel. And Quesnel is about 110 miles and 110 kilometers away from Prince George. So I thought, well, what I do is I just take the bus, and every 20 minutes there is a bus. Not so here. So I had to go to the highway, and then I hitchhiked to Quesnel, and then started working that same evening piling lumber at a small sawmill from Wellwood of Canada. You know, and I didn't have working clothes, so he found me a place in room and board, and then directed me to the plant. And I started that evening piling lumber in my gray European pants, my black jacket, my white shirt, and my tie. And the whole plant, there was a plywood plant attached to it. Everybody in that plant came down and looked at this crazy guy piling lumber in his suit. And by the first coffee break, I took my tie off, and they had put me all the way at the end of the chain, but they thought I would just cave in. I would not be able to make it, but I did. And because they did not know that my view was much farther than just succeeding at the green chain, is I then was working on the plan, the long-term plan. And I stayed there for about a month, ended up on the beginning of the chain. And after a month, I had an opportunity to get a job here in Prince George. That created a few challenges as well. The person that promised me the job in Prince George, I told them more than I should tell them, and about what I wanted to do. And he kind of thought, well, maybe I don't want this guy around. He's too ambitious. Anyway, I got eventually a job. And I was out of food actually for 10 days, and spent some nights sleeping by the hospital because I was worried about, not being, getting dizzy and potentially, having a problem. But every morning I would walk all the way to the mill that was about 8 kilometers away, and then back to, the town. And anyway, eventually I got a job there, started as a cleanup man, lumber piler. Then within a year and a half, I was the superintendent of that mill, and the finishing side. And then that was not quick enough for me. Then I got an offer of a management job and a part ownership of a mill, of all places, in Watson Lake, Yukon. I had no idea about Watson Lake other than there was a mill there, and this was an opportunity. So that particular summer, after I had been here for about a year and a half, in 1967, I went to Watson Lake, Yukon, and became a general manager of Watson Lake Lumber.
You and I have had a few lunches. We've had lots of meetings and telephone calls. You've given me a copy of your first, not your first, the first run of your book, that kind of a sample of it. And the thing that impacts me the most and impresses me the most about your life is that you've had an enormous amount of struggles in your life, and yet it has never diminished your personality or your persuasiveness or your sheer hard work to achieve something. Where did all that come from?
Interesting question, Peter. Is that I don't know. I'm one of those individuals. The cup is always half full, and I believe that there is opportunity as long as you stay the course. You must have dreams. You must have a passion. That's what I tell. And as you, I'm a frequent speaker in different locations. And then I say, you know, get to know your passion, which obviously for me was lumber, and then entrepreneurship, and then stay the course. And if it gets difficult, again, regenerate. And if you fall down, dust yourself off again and go again. That's one part of it. The other part of it is I'm blessed in a way that, I have good energy, and and even now, in the mornings, when I, like even this morning, I'm up at 5:30. Another thing that I always do, Peter, is I always make my bed. When I get up, I always already think I'm late, but I make my bed, and then before I walk out of the room, I look back. It's possibly because I was in the Air Force for 2 years, maybe, but I always kind of look back, and if it is not quite right, I correct it, and then I'm off to work. And every day, to me, virtually every day, I'm full of excitement because of I'm going to work, and then I usually work about 12 hours a day or so. And then when I get home, I have something to eat, and then watch a little bit of news. And then between 9:30 and 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit later, I go to bed. And then I walk into that bedroom, I look at the bed, and oh my God, it feels so, looking back at the day, did I accomplish something? Yeah, I think I did. And then, so that's kind of the attitude that I have. And if it rains today, I'll swear it is sunshine tomorrow. There is no question in my mind. And I try to avoid the negative.
So where did you learn this discipline from? Because it's in all parts of your life. If I have lunch with you at 12 o'clock, you are there exactly at 12 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just me, so I take that for granted because I've always been like that. So I kind of think that, and that's why it sometimes surprises me that other people are not, but most of the time, yeah, that's who I am.
On the back page of the sample book that I've got, it might be different on the actual book. In fact, you have 10 of what I call your positive attributes that you built your life on. Maybe we can cover them. You said your past and your liabilities don't define you.
Why that part is important too. What I wanted to do in this book, Peter, and again, you have written many books, extreme, very, very learning books in a lot of cases, the 27 that you have written, and and in a lot of ways were examples to me. I've seen and read many of them. Is that I wanted to leave people with, and especially the younger people, with something to take away, and to not get to the point where say that, well, the reason that I can't do this or will not be successful is because of this. And I said, no, do not allow the past be don't let the past define you as you go forward in your future.
Okay. You have another, number 5. I won't do all 10 because people will, I don't want to disappoint people who buy the book, but you say, doing the right thing often comes at a price, but do it anyway.
Yeah, and as you read the book, you meaning the general public reads the book, and they will see in certain sections of the book, their principle became an issue, and even to the extent, in the one, I think it is chapter 6, where we talk about a litigation that I was involved in that became a question of honesty and integrity of the industry. I challenged them on that, and it became quite a challenge and virtually cost me my company. The question then always has been, and what I was taught by that, if you see things like that, are you quiet, or you just sit back, or you just accept it? And I say that if I stand in front of that mirror in the morning, I want to make sure that the things that I did are the right things.
I like that. Yeah. and you say never dilute ownership of your own business. I don't hear that very often from business owners.
Likely, if you talk, and not you, but in a general sense, talk to most people that are in business, the choice necessarily of diluting, and I'm also, a good example is a friend of both of us, is Jimmy Pattison. And again, I know you know him well, a great example, certainly, an idol as far as I'm concerned, and watch. He made numerous acquisitions, has an amazing history going back, and one of the last things that not the last things for him, but that he was trying to do that we all know about, he tried to take Canfor private. And the reason that a lot of people do that, have companies, if they could do it private, it gives you more flexibility. And especially if you have a growing company like I was involved in, building it from the ground up, but slows down the company and makes it difficult for the company to expand into areas where you have to take chances and have to make calls that may be questioned by others. The more freedom you have, the more I have the ability to do that. I can very quickly grow and make decisions very quickly. And that's the advantage.
What do you think is the biggest chance you ever took in your life?
That's a good question, Peter. A big chance. You see, as you read the book, you will notice in the book that I disclosed that at latter part in life, I discovered that I had ADHD. If you have that, then one of the things that is associated with that, I went through the list when I found out when I was 58. I read the book, and all of a sudden I said, oh my God, that is me. I never knew until then that that's what I had. So I looked at the checklist that was online, and there were 20 questions. If you have this, that, and the other things, then you likely are a good candidate to have ADHD. There was one in particular that I did not check, and that is impulsivity. And I taught myself not to be impulsive. And so what I do is taking chances or risks, although they may appear risk to others, to me, they are not. I will already have spent lots and lots of times deliberating it. So what I do, internalizing that, even looking forward, because the company, as I sit here today at 80, having a company which virtually is rated around one of the 10 largest forest companies in British Columbia on the basis of employment, that I still intend to double or triple the size of this company going forward. And some of the targets that I have identified, I already identified 20 years ago, that as I look forward, then I see the company. And that's why one of the chapters in the book is hanging the wallpaper. That's what I do. So I have a clear vision as to where we are today, where I want to be tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. And I follow that. And all of them.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and all of them could be considered to be chances and by others, but they're not to me.
How do we're almost the same age. I might be 6, 7 months younger than you. How do you keep your youthfulness? How do you keep your passion? How do you keep your drive and your energy? Because all the times we met, it's always been peak. You're peak. You're interested. You're fascinated. You ask great questions. How do you keep that going all this time?
Good question, Peter. It's another book that I'm going to write about that, actually. Not the next one, but a couple of months further. Is that I try to stay physically in reasonably good shape, although COVID has interfered with that somewhat. 3 years ago, as you know, I qualified for bodybuilding in the north here as second in bodybuilding, third in physique. That gave me the provincials. I placed the same there, and then qualified me for the nationals and the Arnold. So I tried to stay physically in reasonably good shape. And again, I want to go back into competition now even. The other one is to stay mentally alert in terms of I'm always interested in all the things that happen. And then because of the type of company and the kind of individual that I am, I'm involved in a lot of things. As you know, I'm also the vice chair of the Council of Forest Industry. I'm involved in a lot of other things, and I stay mentally active. And then by nature, I love to be, I love life, and I love all the things that happen around me. I'm interested in all the things that I do, and I have an abundance of energy. I don't know how come, but I do.
One of the most impressive things about you, other than your character and your energy and drive, which I love and I feed off, is I can't honestly say I've talked to a lot of people, interviewed a lot of people who have been honored by the province of British Columbia with its highest award, the Order of British Columbia. Tell us about that. Tell us, was it a surprise? Tell us how you responded when you went to Government House and they put that wonderful medallion around your neck, and you were a member of a very elite small group, very challenging to get into. They only do about maybe 10 or 12 a year.
Yes. It was an extreme honor to receive that. Obviously, as you know, you really don't know. It's not something that you can either demand or ask for, or you know, it is something that is uniquely presented by others, and then when you get the phone call that you know you have been selected. It is a unique feeling, because you know that that's the highest level of recognition in the province. And you know, and I was honored a number of years before that by the Community Services Award, which was equally not the same, but equally a recognition. And so yeah, I wear it, and I see you wear it, and I have. If you saw my jacket, it's hanging elsewhere. Give me my jacket here. You know, I wear it with pride, and I remember saying to you, Peter. And something went wrong with mine, because you know, I lost one, and so I said to you, how many have you got? He said, well, I got about 30. I got one of all my jackets, and so you know, so and this is my normal jacket that I wear going to work, and you know, and I wear it with pride every day. So that kind of speaks for itself. Yeah.
It's the highest honor that the government in this province can do for the citizens, and I've actually been on the selection committee for one of those years, and it's very, very difficult. It is very difficult. It's not political in any way, and you make decisions based on what that person has contributed to their community, to their province, to their industry, and how they are regarded. And so you walk in very hallowed company, my friend, and I'm proud to call you a fellow member of the Order of British Columbia.
Yeah, and equally so, yeah.
So moving forward, where do you see your career going in the next 5, 10, 15 years? What mountains are left for you to conquer?
I hope to, first and foremost, as you well know, you know, there is nothing more important than health. Nothing more important. So I will try to stay healthy, and by having good eating habits. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't do drugs and all of that kind of stuff. And then staying active physically, going back to the gym, have some goals in terms of I'm pretty well now the oldest at 80, the oldest competitive bodybuilder or athlete, in the province, and I want to compete again in 1922, hopefully again bringing me to the national level. So that keeps me going to the gym. And then mentally, I want to try to stay active, giving back to the community, being involved in the community is very important to us as a company and to me personally. And then, as I said earlier, we have, I believe that we will double or triple the size of the company in the next 2 to 3 years. So that's a plate full. And, and in between, I like to be active as a speaker. I want to write more books, at least one a year. And not to catch up to you, but for those that are watching, Peter has written 27 books, but it inspired me in the sense that I believe that's a way of giving back. And as this book is, against all odds, I didn't write it only to say hurrah, hurrah, John Brink, but to leave messages for others that sometimes may be reading and then thinks they can never achieve what they should be achieving. And I say, read the book. If I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not quite like that, but at least hopefully it gives inspiration.
One last question, John. Why do you think so many people give up on their dreams, give up on their ambitions, and they kind of wither away where they could have made a significant contribution to this country, to this province, or to their city? Why do people give up? What causes them to lose their heart?
Sometimes what happens is choosing the easy way out. So you need, as part of your makeup, this drive. I have that. I can give that to others by inspiring them. I can lead a horse to water. I cannot make them drink. And so, to me, always virtually when I do presentations, I will always say at the end, never, never, never give up. And that means early in life, preferably, find your passion, because if you find your passion, meaning doing things that you like to do, then you want to excel, you will enjoy things more, and then develop your dream, whatever that may be. It does not have to be building these big operations and all of that, whatever it is, give it all you got. If you combine all of that with attitude, have a positive attitude, avoid the negative, create the passion, as I said, and then develop that work ethic. Whatever you do, give it all you got. If you have the energy, like what I still do today, and I work at least 12 hours a day. And when I built the company, I worked as long as I could physically stay awake, and I tried to sleep fast so I could do all of that. So, and then have excitement in your life. And I do that, so.
I've never heard that expression. What exactly is sleep fast?
So that to me means that, what I would do is I go to bed, at about 10, when I started the company, around 10, 11 o'clock, and I get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. Okay. And that means that I had to press a lot of sleep into very short hours.
You maximize every hour of every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Be the accomplished businessman and respected individual that you are.
Yes. Thank you.
This book is not, this is the copy of your book, but it's not the book that's going to hit the newsstand. Why don't you show your book?
This is the book.
There it is.
On the newsstand.
Much better cover than this is just a rough draft.
Yeah, just a kind of, yeah.
You have demonstrated exactly what Canadians are all about. They beat all the odds. They work at it. They don't win everything, but they work at it as hard as they can to develop themselves, their acquaintances, their businesses, their respect and admiration in the community. And you are a living example of that because of your accomplishments, and the country has honored that, as has the province, with the Order of British Columbia. And it's been my pleasure to interview you, John. Thank you so much.
It was my honor to be interviewed by you. Thanks, Peter. Take care.